Donald Trump warned us years ago, and now the FBI just confirmed it. The Chinese-linked terror plot right here on American soil was just stopped before it could poison our food supply. Why was China buying farmland near military bases? Are Chinese students actually spies? I'm diving deep into the details the mainstream media refuses to cover. Stay tuned. This is the Vazquez Report. There's been a link to overstayed visas and the people who perpetrate the terror attacks. Let's see the acting ICE director talk about people who overstay their visas and how they are now a priority.
There's a big push right now on ICE to go ahead and identify all these individuals that have overstayed their visa, overstayed their welcome. And one of the main missions of ICE is to go ahead and arrest anyone that we can take an enforcement action on that has violated immigration law. And violating their visa and violating that commitment to leave on time is one of those enforcement actions. And we're focused on that. And like your point, we want to go ahead and we make sure we take these bad actors out of the country before anything like this could happen. Because under the last administration, the screening just wasn't there. We don't have the intent of what a lot of these people came for. A lot have come here to commit crime, commit terrorist acts, or just not be the person we want in our neighborhood.
Further connecting the link between overstayed visas and terrorist attacks, let's watch the Matt Gaetz show, where a guest of his links the two together, and listen to what he says about 9/11.
How would you suggest the administration prioritize these visa overstays, given the large number of them and the challenge Ron just noted?
We need to use all the tools. A lot of these people are active on social media. We need to do threat assessments of the ones who pose the biggest risk and go out after them. We're talking about, well, these are just visa overstays. Let me remind you that it was visa overstays and non-immigrants on valid visas who carried out the largest terror attack in the United States in our history on September 11th. One particular opportunity where a Maryland state trooper actually interacted with one of the hijackers who was an overstay and didn't take that individual into custody.
Which leads us to the next part of the story. Are you following along with me still? The Michigan Attorney General sued China for $24 billion and won. This must have angered China and led to some more escalating tensions between the United States and China. If you don't remember the story, let's take a listen.
This one from Missouri, celebrating a major court victory over China, the state winning a $24 billion judgment in its lawsuit against the Chinese Communist Party for hoarding protective supplies during the coronavirus pandemic. Final judgment coming down after Beijing failed to show up to court. State Attorney General Andrew Bailey calling out the CCP on X, writing, quote, "Hey, China, you owe Missouri $24 billion. Pay up, or we start seizing assets and farmland."
There was even a point where Dr. Phil and President of the United States, Donald Trump, were talking about China-owned farmland in the United States and how that farmland was right next to military bases and some top secret military facilities.
Look at this map. I did a show about this. The red is where Chinese government has funded buying major farmland.
Yeah.
And then superimposed on that are some of our most strategic military bases. Yeah. And you can see there's Dugway Proving Ground. That's military equipment, biological, chemical weapons. They're surrounding it. Utah Test Training Range, the largest supersonic authorized restricted airspace in the United States. Whiteman Air Force Base, B-2 Spirit Stealth Bomber Base, missile drone operations, MQ-9 Reaper, Global Strike Command 3, Fort Liberty, Airborne Special Operations Forces, Rapid Deployment. We've allowed them to come in and buy up agricultural land, wind farms, but they're surrounding our military base.
Shortly thereafter, a congressman said he was going to introduce legislation that wouldn't allow Chinese nationals to buy American farmland.
The bill that I propose today is a reciprocal agreement. It says that if a foreign country will not allow American citizens to buy land in their country, then we will not allow their people to buy land in ours. And we know that the most prolific offender here is China and the CCP, which, by the way, is our #1 geopolitical adversary. It makes no sense to allow Chinese nationalists, anybody tied to the CCP in any way whatsoever to purchase any farmland in the United States, much less near United States military bases.
Further linking the CCP's spy ring with the American universities, it was found that Stanford was harboring Chinese nationals that were spying on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party back to China with information about the Americans. Here is Jesse Waters filling us in.
A new investigation just unearthed a massive Chinese spy ring out west, concluding this. The CCP is orchestrating a widespread intelligence gathering campaign at Stanford. In short, there are Chinese spies at Stanford.
Here is Emily Capano from Outnumbered, linking it all together. The students, the counter-surveillance, the visas, and the University of Michigan, along with the Chinese spy ring that reports back to the Chinese Communist Party.
This is on the heels as well of University of Michigan, other students that were arrested and prosecuted for counter-surveillance, and so much more. So look, this is in with the topic as well of the visas and the college campuses of the students, right? And over 27% of foreign students being from China. And there's the direct correlation is obviously not China related. It's CCP related.
If you get value from this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss these regular updates. It really helps out the channel. Also, support the channel. Buy us a cup of coffee. Anything that you donate, support is deeply appreciated. After America during Liberation Day raised their tariffs to 125% on China, China's had this to say. Namely, the Chinese embassy in the United States in this tweet had something to say to the whole country. Listen to what they were ready for.
Gears. As the speech wrapped up last night, this was posted by the Chinese embassy. Quote, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end. As Secretary of Defense, how do you take that?
Well, we're prepared. Those who long for peace must prepare for war. That's why we're rebuilding our military. That's why we're reestablishing deterrence and the warrior ethos, is because we live in a dangerous world with powerful, ascendant countries with very different ideologies. You mentioned defense spending. They're rapidly increasing their defense spending. Modern technology. They want to supplant the United States. If we want to deter war with the Chinese or others, we have to be strong.
Then the tensions start to rise, and the rhetoric against the United States starts to heighten for China. China then begins doing military exercises around Taiwan, leading the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to say this.
Clear any attempt by Communist China to conquer Taiwan by force would result in devastating consequences for the Indo-Pacific and the world. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. The threat China poses is real, and it could be imminent.
Then the United States and China reach a trade deal, and everything seemed to be hunky-dory. China lowered their tariffs to 10%. The United States lowered their tariffs to 30%. But then Trump made an announcement about a Golden Dome missile defense system. And that pissed China off. Here goes Chinese foreign minister saying that the United States should stop even thinking about producing the Golden Dome missile defense system.
所谓的金色穹顶计划旨在构建不受任何约束的全球性、多层次、多领域导弹防御系统。该计划公然提出大幅增加外空作战手段，包括研发、部署轨道拦截系统，将加剧外空战场化和军备竞赛风险，动摇国际安全与军控体系。美国奉行本国优先，执迷于谋求自身绝对安全，违反各国安全不受减损的原则，损害全球的战略平衡与稳定。中方对此严重关切。我们敦促美方尽早放弃发展和部署全球反导系统。
All of those events culminated into what happened next. When a Chinese couple was caught with an aggro-terrorism pathogen that could have infected the entire food supply for the United States and also infected humans as well, causing birth defects and reproductive deformities. Let's see what the Ingram Angle had to say on it.
Breaking tonight, 2 Chinese nationals have been charged with smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the United States. And this pathogen is considered a serious threat to our food supply and thus our national security. Fox's David Spunt is here with all the details. David, this is terrifying.
Laura, it really is quite an interesting story. According to the Justice Department, one of them worked at a laboratory connected to the University of Michigan. The FBI arrested 33-year-old Yu Qing Zhan for allegedly smuggling in a fungus called Fusarium graminearum, which could be used as an aggro-terrorism weapon. The gases from the fungus could cause liver damage, vomiting, and reproductive defects in humans and livestock. DOJ officials say Zhan has direct ties to the Chinese Communist Party, and she works at the University of Michigan, and her boyfriend is connected to a university back in China. FBI Director Kash Patel, in an exclusive statement to Fox Digital, says this case is a sobering reminder that the Chinese Communist Party continues to deploy operatives and researchers to infiltrate our institutions and target our food supply, an act that could cripple our economy and endanger American lives. Smuggling a known agro-terrorism agent into the U.S. is not just a violation of law, it's a direct threat to national security. I commend the FBI Detroit Division and our partners at CPB for stopping this biological threat before it could do real damage. Now,
to make matters worse, this isn't the first time that this Chinese student has tried to sneak in this pathogen. Apparently, she's tried this once before. Let's see Outnumbered and what they have to say on the subject.
So listen to this. Zhuan is the woman. There was the boyfriend and girlfriend. So Zhuan's the woman. The FBI has evidence that she had done this before. She had worked with someone else to smuggle in the same pathogen. She gave the other person detailed instructions on how to smuggle it in a book and said there are usually no problems. Rest assured, I have mailed these before. So you wonder how many times she's done this. And then she lied on her visa, saying she was studying a topic distinct from the use of this pathogen. This raises all kinds of questions about subterfuge and frequency.
Absolutely. Look, this is absolutely frightening. And most frightening is how under the prior administration, this stuff was just swept under the rug. Secretary of State Pompeo deployed a maximum pressure against China in all of those arenas. He saw and articulated that the threats to our intellectual property, our college campuses, our physical military bases, and so much more was profound and real. And if you look at the DOJ history of prosecutions and arrests, it was sky high because they were deploying resources toward this articulated threat. And the fact that this administration now sees this for what it is and is dedicated to preventing this kind of thing is so relieving. But we have to know that the seeds have been planted and really buried deep under the prior administration. So for me, this is one in what is likely the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you.
Which leads me to the questions of this video. Are the dots starting to connect for you? Or all the moments of escalating tensions lead you to the conclusion that I jumped to? Do you think China plotted a terror attack against the United States that was ultimately foiled by the FBI under Kash Patel? Let me know how you feel about these questions in the comment section below. In case you missed it, Trump scored a big win with tariff revenue, making over $60 billion so far, which is up 78% from the year prior. If you missed that along with other news around the world, don't worry, because it's coming up right here.